institution, we were talking for the whole day, and we will continue talking about this, I'm quite sure, the Business Institute. But at the same time, Cheryl has started the founded university in Canada, which is the University of Fredericton. Cheryl Sundermoen leads how to structure a company for competitiveness and change. Okay.
Thank you for that introduction. Very good. That's it. So, most executives can sense when something is wrong in their company, but how to deal with it might be a bigger challenge, because to make a new organizational structure is one of the toughest challenges an executive can face. So what I'm going to show you is how to do it. And of course, there's many ways and many theories of how to do this, and I will base it on the Adhesis methodology, which I've been a part of for many, many years. And the agenda I'm going to cover is I'm going to talk about change, what it is. I'm going to talk about how to structure your company. I'm going to talk about the challenges in this regard. And I'm going to share with you how to test whether the structure is good or not. And I'm going to give you a few examples, and I hope I can manage to do it in 1.5 hours. So let's see. Okay. First of all, what is change? A lot of you have been talking about change in the presentations, I think, or touch upon the topic. And change is something that is taking place all the time. And one simple way to say it, and maybe philosophical way to say it, is that change is simply time. In a lot of languages, there is no present. They have only futurum or past. I don't know in Lithuanian if you have a present time, but in my language we have. So we have something that we call the Adhesis map, which is a way to describe and understand what is change. So I say that change is time. And we know that we're living in times of accelerated change. Technology, environment, competition, opportunities and threats, the changes are rapid and they're happening continuously. So what is happening when there is change? Since I'm talking about organizations, an organization is a system. It's a very complex system. It's a social system. And a system consists of subsystems. So whether this is a mechanical system or a social system or whatever system we're talking about, the system consists of subsystems. What change is doing is that it changes parts of the or impact parts of the subsystem so that it's not longer synchronized with the totality of the system. So change is causing what we call disintegration. And this disintegration in subsystems that make the totality unsynchronized is simply what we call a problem. So problems are disintegration caused by change. What we have to do when we have a problem? We need to solve it. Now, when I try to solve a problem, it's very important that this solution give me a better change than the change that created the problem in the first place. And this is what we call leadership, or if you want, management. I use the term management. What is management? Well, we sum it up in two simple formulas. It is to take decisions, and it is to implement. Now, as we heard from the previous speaker, when you make and take a decision, you will have different opinions, different interests involved. when you implement, you will also have different interests involved. And what will this create? Well, it will create conflicts. What do we need to do? I'm sorry. What do we need to do when we have conflicts? Well, we have different types of conflicts. We have conflicts of interest, we have conflicts of styles, we have conflicts of understanding or perception, as it's called. And in order to make these conflicts constructive, we need what we call mutual trust and mutual respect. What is trust? Who do I trust? And what is mutual trust? Why do you trust your closest family? Why do kids trust their parents? It's because we have mutual interests. So when I have the same self-interest as you, I will trust you. Why? Because I know that if you will undermine my interest, you will also undermine your own interest. That is not likely to happen. So to define the mutual interest in a company is extremely important. Now, what is respect? There's a lot of different kinds of respect. But the respect we're talking about here is the respect that gives you an opportunity to speak out, and me an opportunity to speak out, and that we listen to each other. And we try to learn from each other. And we try to learn from the differences in our opinion. So this is the kind of respect we're talking about. Not to put yourself in respect, but to understand each other. Now, this is easier said than done, to create mutual trust and mutual respect. And it takes time. It takes a lot of time to create trust and respect. And it takes very little time to destroy it. And this formula that we apply say that we have to define the shared values and our vision and our mission in the organization. We need the right structure, the right process, and the right people. Now I'm talking about this, the right structure. And what is a right structure? There's many ways of structure. There's many ways of perceiving and considering structures. But anyway, let me share with you what we believe is a right way to structure a company. First of all, let me share with you this concept, the organizational life cycle of Dr. Desis. As you see, an organization has a life cycle, like any organic or even mechanic thing. There is a growth. Oh, I pushed the wrong button. There is a growth side, and the idea about the life cycle and the illustration is that we need to bring the organization to prime. And there is an aging side of the life cycle, and there's something we call death. And I will show you how some organizations can die very fast, and so some can stay forever, even though they are on the aging side of the life cycle. Now, if I'm here on the life cycle and I say that this is the goal to get to prime, it requires one kind of structure. If I'm here, it requires a different kind of structure to bring me to prime. So that is one aspect of what is the right structure. Now, this is the life cycle over time. This is growth and aging. Now, when the organization is young, everything young, everything new has a high degree of flexibility, which means it's unpredictable. When something is unpredictable, I have less control than when it is predictable. So when an organization or a human being or a puppy or a product is new, it has a high degree of flexibility, and it decreases over the life cycle. So the opposite of flexibility is what? Is control, controllability. Now, where the two curves meet for the first time is where we say the organization is in prime. So this is an organization that is both flexible and controllable. So flexible means that I have the ability to manage this organization so it can adapt to change, that it can give me the to deal with both opportunities and threats in a flexible way. But at the same time I have control, so I know what is going on and I can plan ahead. But it's not a fixed point, it's more an area where sometimes it's too flexible or too controllable. This is prime. The second time the curves meet, you see, we are dead. Now, I said I will go back here. Some organizations, and a lot of startups by the way, they fall off the life cycle and die or get into serious trouble early in their life cycle. It can be a go-go company that didn't protect their intellectual property, or that stole an intellectual property and ended up in court and couldn't pay for it. It could be a company that were growing in too many directions and it simply couldn't control the growth. But what kind of organization can stay on the aging side and stay there forever? Or more or less forever? What kind of organizations are these? Well, it's monopolies, politically driven organizations that somehow is protected from the market. And to make the right structure in these kind of organizations is very, very difficult. Very difficult. Why is that? Why is it more difficult to make the right structure in a monopoly or in a bureaucratic organization protected by politics? Because of course they have a lot of systems, they have a lot of rules, they have a lot of protection. And to cope with the inside of an organization is much, much more difficult than to deal with the outside. It's much easier to deal with the market, to deal with opportunities, if you can do what you want, if you have the resources. But even if you have the resources and your organization is either before prime or is in aging, the real challenge is how do I deal with the inside? How do I, to take it from here to here is actually more difficult than to take it from here to here. Why? Because here I have to swim against the currents. What is the current? Employees, rules, unions, control. And here I just need to make the system, to make it swim faster to get to prime. And during my years of doing this kind of business, working with the Odysseus Institute, I have worked both with aging organizations, aristocracy, bureaucracy, and go-go adolescence organizations, and both are difficult, but the aging, to rejuvenate an aging organization is more complicated. Okay.